Jananam sukadam maranam karunam milanam maduram smaranam karunam kalavashadiha sakalam karunam samayadipate akilam karunam. Good afternoon, everybody. Namaskaram. I said namaskaram. Okay. These chairs are made for cripples, huh?
Yes, it's sort of sink back deep into them. Sadhguru, I'm going to just start by asking you a question that I think I've asked you innumerable times in the book, but it's one of those questions that I've found Sadhguru has a new answer for almost every time I ask him the question, so I'm going to start with that, which is really, why? Why this book at this point in time? What for you was the urgency of Adi Yogi at this particular juncture? And is it seems, I think, to many of us that Shiva has become a figure of an iconic figure in many ways for this century. He seems to be a figure that resurfaces in fiction, on television, in every possible way, in one way or the other. Why does he seem to be in vogue?
Human race has come to a point in time where human intellect is firing like never before. More people can think for themselves today than ever before in the history of humanity. For a long time, if there was a village or a town, there was one pandit or a priest or a guru or a scripture, a book would think for you. I know, I'm sorry, many of you are writers. But today, for the first time, a large part of humanity has begun to think for itself. Well, we can debate whether they're thinking right or not, that's another matter, but they're beginning to think for themselves. Once people begin to think for themselves, it's inevitable, questions will arise. If questions arise for a long time because of our allegiance to scriptures and concepts and dogmas, we had a very effective way of handling questions, that is, kill the questioner. Question did not die, at least for that generation it was handled, till another generation popped up and asked the same question. So for a long time we've been handling questions like this, just kill the questioner, and it seems to be gone for some time. Those times are gone now because there are too many questions happening, too many people asking questions. You have to kill half the population if you want to kill the question. And if you kill half the population, the other half will ask inevitably, why? So, whatever dogmas, ideologies, belief systems, scriptural adherence we have had, if you really ask three questions, basic questions, 90% of the scripture will fall apart. And above all the three heavens will fall apart. It's not a small thing Heavens falling apart is not a small thing, isn't it? But heavens will fall apart. I think I should tell you what's in heaven. Hello, you would like to know what's in heaven? You want to know, he wants to go. Huh? In Hindu heaven, food is very good. In another heaven, there are these white-gowned ladies floating around in the clouds. If you like that kind of ambience, you need to go there. In another heaven, you will encounter virgin problems. But what is the qualification for you to go to heaven? Well, you have to die first. You If you want to go to heaven, first thing is you must die, isn't it? When you die, fortunately, we will either bury your body or burn it or cut it into pieces and throw it to the birds. One of these things we will do. Or in other words, if you have not done anything eco-friendly in your life, one thing you will do for sure, that is you put this body back into the soil, it's a very good thing to do. You should not go with it, okay? So you left your body here. If you can settle down, sir, if you can make up your mind, hello? Which seat to sit in, if you can make up your mind, please. So you went to heaven without your body. Now what do you do with good food and virgins? You have no body. How will you eat the good food and what are you going to do with the virgins? You know, in heaven, in Hindu heaven, there are vessels where it doesn't matter how many people eat, still there will be food full. Obviously, when you don't have a body. And in another place, there are virgins and virgins. Yes, of course, they will remain virgins because no man went there with a body. So I'm saying if you ask 3 questions, all heavens will collapse, 90% of the scripture will collapse. So that time is coming soon. If you don't dare to still ask questions, your children for sure will ask questions. When they ask questions, your heavens that you've been promising for ages will collapse and scriptures will collapse. Already it's collapsing in a big way. In most people's minds, heavens have already collapsed. That is why they are on drink and drug, because they know there's no better place to go. But if you are dead sure that there is a better place to go, you must go today, isn't it? Hello? If you're so sure that there is a better place to go, you must live today. So that time has come when empty promises, weird explanations, belief systems will not work. So time for Adiyogi has come because our scientific approach to the very basis of who we are, the very nature of our existence. This is… the feedback is coming back too much. Can you take care of this, please, somebody, wherever is the audio? The very basis… is it okay for you, the audio? It's good for you. Then I think it's only these 2 things, if you can control it a bit. The very basis of your existence, which is unanswered. It's very natural for human intelligence to ask this question, what is the nature of my existence? Where do I come from? Where do I go? What is this all about? Ready-made answers, you will go to heaven, you will go and sit in God's lap, is not going to work for future generations. If you are so sure you have an appointment with God, I think you should not postpone it. So, because human intellect is firing like this, at last, after thousands of years, time for Adiyogi has come. Adiyogi belongs to the future, not to the past, because you will see he will live and dance in future generations, because it needed a certain fertile intellect to be able to absorb what he had to offer. It took nearly 15,000 years, but he is patient. Because you have heard, he either still, absolutely still, timelessly still, or exuberantly dancing. He dances here and there, but you will see he will dance in a big way on this planet, the coming generations.
Sadhguru, you speak of him very often as a dimension, that which is not. At the same time, you speak of him as the very first yogi who walked this planet. And in the book, you speak of him in a bewildering variety of ways. You speak of him as your 50% partner. You speak of him as your sidekick. You speak of him most recently in a poem called Profoundly Alone. You speak of him as the companion who abandoned you. Who is Adi Yogi?
I'm trying to find some dignity to myself. Instead of just saying I'm a slave, I'm trying to put it in many words to make it dignified for myself. So, as the name suggests, the first yogi. Let's understand this. A yogi means not a man. Yogi means… yoga means union. Yogi means one who has found that union. Right now as you sit here, it is you versus the universe in a way, isn't it? Hello? You may not always be fighting, but it is actually you versus the rest of the universe. You versus the universe is a hopeless fight, a hopeless competition. So, when one's intelligence grasps this, that you versus cosmos is a hopeless way to exist, you look for ways in which either you can become the universe or universe can become you. When you manage that, we say you're a yogi. So it is that dimension which we are referring to as the yogi. Now, we're talking about the first yogi. Maybe I'm saying, maybe there were yogis before him, but they never bothered to teach us. So out of our vengeance, we don't give them the credit. He took the time to offer the entire science and possibility to us, so we acknowledge him as a first yogi. Maybe there were others, we don't know. But we don't want to acknowledge those guys who didn't bother about us. We're acknowledging him because he sat down and taught 7 idiots who couldn't grasp a thing. They were wonderful men. But more wonderful you are, more difficult it is to work with you. But he took the time and the patience and the trouble to offer it to us, so we are acknowledging him as the first yogi.
And when you say profoundly alone and you speak of him as the companion who abandoned you?
We're not talking about loneliness, we're talking about being alone. I'm alone in this existence means, in some way the existence has become a part of me. Only I exist. When only I exist, obviously I will be alone. So, but it's very profound. Usually when people are alone, they become depressed, they become lonely, they feel abandoned by the world or people around them. It doesn't matter, people feel alone even if they lose their money, you know. If they lose their phone, they'll feel terribly alone today. So, we're not talking about that kind of aloneness, we're talking about aloneness that's come out of union. So it's very profoundly alone.
In the book, you make a distinction between spirituality and mysticism. We use the word mystic quite liberally. We introduce you as a mystic. But I think for many of us, some of these distinctions between the word mystic, saint, sage, these are blurred distinctions. We use them interchangeably. What would you say is spirituality? What is mysticism? How is a mystic, particularly in a conference devoted to mystical literature, who is a mystic?
One who is not a mystic. See, nothing special about a mystic. Very ordinary. In fact, we used to have a brochure, which we have removed now. It used to say, Isha Yoga, from ordinary to extraordinary. After 2 days of the program, somebody asked me, Sadhguru, you said we will become very special, nothing happened. And I said, I never said anything special will happen to you, because being special is a sickness in my perception. People wanting to be special is a kind of sickness. They'll do the weirdest things possible to be special. Then they said, no, no, you said extraordinary. Yes, I said extraordinary. More ordinary than others you will become. Everybody is trying to be special, you become just ordinary, just life, nothing more. And if you become simply ordinary, just as life is, you didn't make anything of yourself, you just remained as Creator intended you to be, simply, then people think you're a mystic. That's their problem, that's their mistake. Simply because you're able to see things as they are, and they are seeing things which don't exist. Because they are seeing everything through their psychological drama of thought and emotion. You're seeing everything just the way it is. So suddenly they think you're a mystic. That's not my problem, it's their mistake. See, I told you, you will feel very lonely without your phone. If you… what you think is a mystic, suppose I sit here with my eyes closed and somebody walks into this hall, I can tell you what sort of person has walked into the hall right now. I'm sure you would think that's very mystical, isn't it? But what you don't understand is, your dog can do it. Your dog is sitting under this chair, somebody comes at the door, he knows who has come. Yes or no? So it's a bit doggy. It's just that you have made sure nothing comes between you and your perception. You have honed your faculties of perception in such a way, it's not interrupted by thought or emotion or situations that are going around you. Drama is happening all the time, but you're untouched by the drama, and both the outside social drama and the psychological drama, you're untouched by this, you're able to perceive everything just the way it is. That means without making mistakes, you're perceiving everything as it is, so you become a mystic. Mysticism means it is just a longing to know. This is not something that happens by intent, it's a natural consequence of human intelligence. This evolution has delivered us at a certain place where we cannot be without knowing. Yes? If there is something that you do not know and you realize you do not know, the very innate nature of your intelligence is such it wants to know. Now, when you want to know, if you do not have neither the commitment nor the courage to seek that which you do not know, you will believe something. Well, all you're looking for is an authority. The authority may be a guru, maybe a scripture, maybe a messiah, or maybe an unseen god somewhere in the clouds. But essentially you're looking for an authority so that what you do not know, you can pretend that you know. You'll arrive at it in so many different ways. This happened, I can tell you a joke. An 8-year-old boy in New York City came home from school in the afternoon. He had a very progressive mother. Obviously, she was single. I said, it's only a joke, okay? He came home and asked his mother, "Mama, is God a man or a woman?" She thought through this, all these gender politics that are going on in the country. Just now in the last election, they tried to settle it. It didn't work. After much thinking, she said both. The boy went into profound thought. Then he came back after some time and asked, "Mama, is God black or white?" She thought about all the racial politics that are going on in the nation. In the previous election, they tried to handle it. Didn't work. After much thinking, she said both. Then the boy went into very deep thought. Then he came back and asked, "Mama, is God gay or straight?" She thought about all the politics involved with that aspect of life, and then she said both. The boy jumped in joy, I got it, it's Michael Jackson." I don't know how you arrived at yours. It's just that it has to be spoken usually, at least a dais 2 feet higher than your chair, or from a mount, or from the cloud, always like this. It's never transmitted like this, you see. Hello? Always like this. Uparwala. Talking so much about Uparwala, I want to tell you, in this cosmos, you do not know what is up and what is down. Are you capable of knowing? You're on a round planet and the damn thing is spinning all the time. Inevitably you're looking up in the wrong direction, aren't you? Hello? What do you think Australians are looking up at? So, the moment you ask a few questions, all the fake authorities that you have created in your life and try to sustain yourself unseeking. This is all your tricks to see that your intelligence doesn't bother you and freak the hell out of you, that you don't know the fundamentals of life. You know everything. You know everything. You know where God lives, you know His name, you know His wife's name, you know how many children He has, you know when His birthday is. You just know… you even know what He likes for dinner. This incredible knowledge about everything about the Creator. We must understand this is the only culture on the planet which has been a land of seekers. The people that you worship did not fall from the top. They were normal birth for their mothers, weren't they? Your Ramas, your Krishnas, your Shiva, everybody walked this geography, went through all the trials and tribulations that you go through and much more. We bow down to them not because they were gods, we bow down to them because of the freedom with which they existed. If you take one example, we'll take Rama because he still has real estate problems from then to now. Then he was born as a prince, went through the finest education possible in those days, grew up into a very gentle, wonderful, wise young man, married a beautiful princess, but something went wrong and he was banished to the jungles. Well, maybe in your Ramanand Sagar television serial you saw Rama, Sita doing romance but that's not how it is. I've lived in jungles for weeks on end by myself. After 3-4 weeks in the jungle, when I come back home, even my parents wouldn't recognize me. It would be like that. Insect bites from head to toe. Most of the ladies, I'm telling you, if we take you to the jungle, in 2 weeks' time, nobody in the town will recognize you. You'll become like that. So Sita is not a Adivasi woman, she's a princess, not made for the jungle, I'm saying. Obviously, they were not sent out on a safari, it was a punishment. As if that was not enough, I hear the Odisha people have been navigating their way down to Sri Lanka and going for a long time, the maritime history says so. The Sri Lankan people came and kidnapped Sita. Rama is a king, he could have found some local solutions for himself. But he's not that kind, he loves his wife, he follows and goes down, builds a Tamil army. Now after 6,000 years, the American scientists are telling us actually there is a bridge. And he fought a battle, killed many people, many of his people died, burned down a beautiful city and brings his wife back. Then a little time, she's fully pregnant, again something goes wrong and he sends her to the jungle once again. If something truly terrible has to happen to you in your life, knowingly or unknowingly, you kill your own children. This is the worst thing that can happen to you. Rama almost killed his own children because he did not know. When she went as a pregnant woman to the jungle, no sonogram, he did not know whether it is girl or boy or girls or boys or what the hell. He fought with these boys, tried to kill them in every possible way, but fortunately he did not succeed. And in the end, she dies in the jungle without him ever seeing her. You don't call this a successful life, do you? Hello? If any one of these incidents happen in your life, most people would be broken. But the man did not become bitter, did not become angry, did not become hateful. He conducted his duty of being a king with utmost balance, to a point when we are fighting for our freedom, when we want to talk about a nation well managed, we say Ram Raj. When his entire personal life was a continuous disastrous drama, the man was… not that he did not have any pain, not that he did not go through what every human being goes through for such situations, but he did not let those things affect anything that he was doing. This freedom we call Jivan Mukti, it is for that freedom that we bow down to him, not because he was a king, not because he was a success. Because in this culture, the highest value has always been mukti or moksha, never God or heaven. Even when so-called divine entities came, we freaked them with questions, didn't we? Nobody could give us a commandment. So, the best thing about Adiyogi is, he never attempted to give any kind of commandment. Questions and questions and questions. From Parvati and the seven sages, endless number of questions. Every question he did not answer in poetry. I'm saying this because not just making it beautiful, making it very technical, scientific and logically correct, at the same time touching a dimension which logic can never touch, honing your logic in such a way that your logic will not trap you to a mundane way of living, honing your logic in such a way that it becomes the stairway to the magical dimension of life.
You speak in the book, Sadhguru, about Adi Yogi as the one who is the very source of yoga, which is a science. But you also speak of him as the one who offered another science, the science of Tantra. And for various reasons, I think, Tantra is a word that many of us have perhaps our own have drawn our own conclusions about. It's a word that many of us approach with some wariness. Sometimes it's a word that is regarded pejoratively. We have reached a point when we can talk of an International Yoga Day, but it seems unlikely that we'll ever talk about an International Tantra Day. What is Tantra?
See, they've kept some peppermint for you, not for me. There must be some good reason, isn't it? So today, unfortunately, both yoga and tantra that you're reading about and you're hearing about generally is a rebound from the American coast. So there is dog yoga, there is aquatic yoga, there is beer yoga, there is gun yoga, okay? People are doing yoga with guns. People are doing yoga with a full glass of beer. So, both yoga and tantra are a rebound from the American coast. Once it bounces off that coast, it changes complexion in a huge way. The word tantra literally means a technique or a technology. I think even now in Hindi, what do you say for technology? No, that is an English word mispronounced. What do you say for tantra, whatever is it? What is this? Okay.
There seem to be multiple
Okay,
options.
fine. In Sanskrit language, I think, because in Kannada and Telugu these words are there, tantrika means technology. But somewhere tantric became a weird man. The word tantra literally means technology or technique. There is no yoga without tantra. But as I said, because it comes from the American coast, we have begun to understand tantra as unbridled promiscuity. If we have to separate yoga and tantra, which is not correct, it is like, let me put it in modern terms, there is science and there is technology. Science is just an exploration. Technology is practical usage of a few things that we have understood. Science is a pure seeking, which is a natural quest within human intelligence. Technology is of social consequence. Today in India, if you say science, people think it's only computer science, which is just technology. Even if there's no computer, still there is science. Because technology brings benefit, people are more ardently devoted to technology than to science. Nobody would fund science. No funding for science would happen if they did not come up with some technology, because everybody who invests, they want some result. How can we use it? So when governments invest, or when universities invest, or when companies invest, they're not investing in science, they're only looking for technology, newer ways of exploiting the world. So yoga is a dimension of that science where it's completely internalized. When something is so totally, absolutely internalized, it needs a certain capability. If I ask you right now, many of you, some of you will be able to do this, something very simple, that if you are speaking, you also be conscious about your breath and be conscious about the various aspects of your body and then speak. You will see either speech won't come out, or you will forget about the breath, or you will forget about the body, something will happen. It needs a certain amount of effort and sharpening of one's mental faculties, because today, in modern terms, because of the nature of the education that people are receiving, their idea of mind is just their thought process or their intellect. No, mind has many other dimensions, because those aspects have not been cultivated in most human beings. It looks like it's impossible to do things, it's impossible to do two different things at the same time. People are always asking me, Sadhguru, how is that so many things you keep it going at the same time? Well, I have 12 to 14 tracks running in my mind all the time. And if I initiate something and leave it, it works itself out. Every human being is capable of this. It is just that because of the nature of education that we are receiving, we are just focused on thought process. We think thought is the biggest thing. No. Thought is only recycling of the data that you already have. That will not lead you to any greater possibility than just recycling and going into permutations and combinations of what you can do with the existing data. But if something new has to come, there are penetrating dimensions of your intelligence which has to be employed. So yoga needs a sophisticated mind. When I say yoga, I'm talking about the yoga, not the American, Western form of yoga, where twisting and turning and hanging upside down is considered yoga. If you want to do classical yoga, you need to develop a sophisticated mind. It needs a certain amount of effort, certain amount of internalization. So for those who have not worked upon themselves in that sense, for such people, they brought in other dimensions where they could use their body and things around them, where the other substances are used to create a similar effect. In India, you have these yogis and ritualists. These rituals are all different aspects of tantra, generally gone bad today, but there is a certain dimension to it. This is for people who don't know anything. They also want to experience something. So you create a mass process where everybody experiences something, even though they themselves don't have the necessary sadhana or necessary sophistication within themselves to make it happen within themselves. So you do an outward thing. So generally, this is how today's classification, this is not appropriate. In today's understanding, yoga means internal, tantra means external. Yoga means you don't do anything with anything or anybody, just with yourself. Tantra means you do things with people and stuff around you. Many things are used, trees, soil, water, all kinds of things are used. Yoga means totally internalized. This is the modern understanding. Not absolutely wrong, but not technically correct either, because tantra means technology, a certain capability. Science is not a capability, it is just a knowing. Technology is a capability. Without capability, you cannot impart anything, you cannot spread anything, you cannot make it happen for anybody. So, in every aspect of yoga, there is a certain amount of tantra. But as I said, in today's understanding, we can divide it this way. If it is coming from within, we call this yoga. If you're using external substances, then it is called tantra.
Does tantra take intimacy because in the book, another thing we discussed is Adi Yogi's mode of transmission to 3 sets of disciples. For the Saptarishis, he imparts yoga, and you say there that he tells the Saptarishis, the 7 sages, there is an infinite distance between you and enlightenment. To Parvati, his beloved, he imparts Tantra, and he says there is no distance between you and enlightenment. And to the Ganas, who are his cronies, he invites them to drink and dance, and he says, there is no enlightenment. What does that mean?
Where there is intellect, there is infinite distance. Because intellect is both a possibility and a trap. It depends how you use it. Intellect does not function by itself. It needs data. Depending on what kind of data you have and what kind of identity you hold, accordingly your intellect functions. You must see this as an observer, you must just watch 2 people arguing vehemently with each other. Both of them obviously believe they are being very logical. But you think the other person is a fool, but the other person thinks you're a fool, and it just goes on endlessly, and it can go on forever. It's gone on for thousands of years, the same things. Because intellect is a knife. I'm asking all of you, would you like a sharp intellect or a dull intellect? You must choose. I'm going to bless you right now. Sharp. So it is a cutting instrument, it's like a knife. Knife is good if you want to cut something open. Intellect helps you to dissect things and know. Maybe many of you who went to school and college, you dissected that frog or a cockroach and you looked inside, its heart was still beating and you thought you were learning something and the frog was looking at you, you idiot. You also have a heart beating inside of you, what are you looking at mine? I don't think the frog enjoyed the dissection. Hello? No. Don't think the heart was beating for you. So, dissection is one way of knowing things. If I want to really know you, shall I dissect you? Hello? If I dissect you, I may know something about your liver, kidney, heart, spleen, but I will not know you, isn't it? Maybe by embracing you, I will know something more about you than dissecting you, isn't it? But intellect is a knife, it can only dissect. Whatever you put it to intellect, it will cut it open and look and analyze and look at it. The more intellectual you become, the more you cannot get along with anybody, just see. Unless they drink with you or smoke with you or do something with you, you can't get along with them because this is the nature of the intellect. Now you want to stitch something, but only instrument you got is your intellect. So with a knife you stitch, you will leave everything in tatters. I had this experience. There was a time when I crisscrossed India on my motorcycle. I was riding somewhere between, I don't know whether I was in Madhya Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh, somewhere in the border area. Then I have a little bit of trouble with my motorcycle. I have all the tools because I don't trust any mechanic on the road, I fix it myself. But I stopped and I saw Mubarak Mechanical Works. So I parked and I told him, this is what I want, and I thought, let him fix it, I'll have my breakfast. Whole night I've been riding. Then Mubarak Mechanical Works, a very enthusiastic, enterprising young man. Then he brings out his tools. The only 2 tools he has is chisel and hammer. With this he does everything. But once he's done with your machine, that's the end of it. After that, nobody can work on it anymore because none of the spanners or anything will fit on it because he's tock, 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 everything he opens like this. So, today unfortunately educated people have become like this. The only instrument they have is a cutting instrument. With this they try to do everything. And no wonder people are becoming so grave-looking. When I see people walking on the street, I'm just wondering, are they practicing their last pose, you know? Those of you practicing, I'm telling you, it'll come to you naturally, you don't have to practice. When you're dead, you get it actually, it comes free, not with practice. This has happened to you simply because you're applying a cutting instrument on everything and life becomes slowly painful, not knowing why. Because you have… the only tool that you have is a knife. With that you try to handle everything and everything hurts. That's how it is. No, I had a terrible joke, but I looked at you and then I saw you're terrified, so I'll leave it.
I think we should have it. We'll prepare.
A young lady was complaining, her entire body is hurting terribly. She went to the doctor. So doctor said, "Where does it hurt?" "Anywhere I touch, doctor, all this. Then the doctor looked at her and said, "Okay, you come here." And he took a splice and put a splice on her finger. And then he said, "Now you touch." "Oh, it's cured, it's cured, it's cured, everything is okay." The problem was, the finger was fractured. So, if you approach it with your intellect, there's an infinite distance because you're cutting it into pieces and making it more and more complex. Endlessly it goes on. So he said that to the seven sages because they are men and they're highly intellectual. So when he spoke to his wife, she got inspired by looking at the seven men, they're asking fantastic questions and he's talking, and he's not talking to her. There's issues. So she also wanted to be spoken like that. So Adiyogi said, "Come sit here." She said, "No, that's not what I want. I want to know like them." I said, "It's okay, come and sit here." She thinks it's the usual trick, man wants her on the lap. Says, "That's not it, come and sit here." With great hesitation and pride, and she comes and sits there. Then he slowly draws her in and makes her a part of himself. One part of him becomes a woman. And she knows through that. So he says there is no distance, it's right here, because it's not through intellect. And looking at this, that these two became one and those guys are getting enlightened, the Ganas, who are just an extension of his energy, they said, "We want enlightenment too, we also want to know." They said, "You idiots, just sit with me, there's nothing to be done, there's no enlightenment. You're just an extension of me." These are called Shivangas. Today, you know, we have sadhana called Shivangas. Shivanga sadhana is going on in the yoga center right now. You just become an extension of this energy. There is nothing to do, there's no enlightenment, there's no nonsense, only those… See, you have to turn on the light only if it's dark, isn't it? If you are sitting in the sunlight, why do you turn on the light? What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. He said, "You're one with me, what the hell are you talking about enlightenment? There's no such thing." So if you work through your intellect, there's an infinite distance. If you work through your emotion, it's very close. If you work with your energy, there's no such thing, it's all the same thing.
Sadhguru also talks in the book of Mount Kailash, and he speaks of it as the greatest mystical archive on the planet. And there's a point in the course of our conversation when I asked him, what does it feel like to actually be in the presence of Kailash? And I remember you said, Sadhguru, you said, when I see Kailash, I go blind. And I wasn't quite sure what you meant, but I think that sense of curiosity remains. What does it really mean for a mystic to encounter this prodigious archive? Is it the way some of us might feel when we encounter
I think the
a
word that I
library?
used is a library.
Library.
Archive.
What does it feel like to encounter a library, a mystical library? What does it mean?
Sun is not set yet. Does it set at 4:30 here? Okay. Not set yet. If you go out and look at the sun, do you see things better or go blind? When something is of overwhelming presence, you kind of go blind, but in a very beautifully go blind. Go blind means everything that you were seeing till now is gone. And you start seeing something else altogether which you never imagined possible. So Kailash, I'm not a pilgrim type. I never went on pilgrimages, nor do I visit temples or sacred spaces. If I close my eyes, I'm taken care of, so I don't do those things. Everybody was talking Kailash, Kailash. I said, okay, let's go and see. What the hell? Anyway, I'm traveling around the world, what's wrong going to Kailash? So I thought one trip we will make. One trip and one trip and one trip, I've made 13 trips in the last 13 years. I'm again going in 2018 because it's kind of mind-boggled me quite a bit. Its overwhelming presence is something that you cannot miss. But if you stay there for 100 years, you may still not know it in its entirety because it's too phenomenally huge to be grasped, to be understood. Are they coming to take me? Hello. Okay. I'm just nasty, it's okay, I'm like that only. So, it's a phenomena beyond any kind of understanding that one can have. It can unpeel itself forever and still everything is fresh and new. Even if you have no such faculty to perceive, nobody can miss the immensity of the presence, it's just overwhelming presence. Well, the Chinese have made highways and all kinds of accommodations coming up, so I fear that people will start going there like tourists, of course they'll take a selfie with Kailash and come back. That'll be the tragedy, that you go there and you don't experience anything and come back. That day is not too far away. But it's been so immense that 13 years on, I've been going every year and apart from the natural beauty, it's incredible beauty, naturally, it is not a cup that you can ever fully drink. One sip blows you away. By the time you take the next, digest it and take the next sip, it is too long. So…
Before we throw this open, Sadhguru, to the audience, I just want to ask you to share, if you'd like, I would love it if you did. In the book you talk about a particular anecdote in Mysore. You talk about the very word, the syllable shi, and the sound shi for Shiva. You talk about the significance of that sound.
The way you're saying it, the young people understand it differently.
That's precisely what the anecdote is about. So I wondered if you could say something about sound. Sound, you talk about Nada Yoga to some degree, mantra as well. What is the significance of this particular syllable? For you, what is the significance?
See, I'm not the mantra kind. For me, I just sit still and that's about it. It's like people appreciate if you paint this canvas, people will appreciate the painting and the many colors upon it. But very few people grasp the nature of the canvas. So Shiva means that which is not, which is the canvas of the existence, not the painting. It is the empty space, which is what is holding this creation in place. But creation doesn't even amount to 1% of the cosmic space that is there. Even within an atom, over 95% is just empty. So it is with the larger creation. Probably the proportion is same, nobody is here to prove it, but probably the proportion in the atom and the proportion in the cosmos of emptiness and substance is about the same. So, the word Shiva means just that which is not. About what you're talking about this, I don't know if it's oh, she's talking about it. You know, this was many years ago. A guest came from Australia and I'm driving this person around on a motorcycle. Of course, I ride in a certain way. I don't know how to ride at half throttle. I always drive at full throttle, both my life and my motorcycle and whatever else I drive. So, if I ride fast, in my ears I hear shit. And I say, okay. Then if I brake, shit. If they see something beautiful, shit. If they don't like something, shit. The food is good, shit. It's too hot, shit. Then I think, what's happening? This person constipated or something? I thought shit is over in the morning. Whole day you're saying shit, shit, maybe you're trying to invoke yourself. Then I look at this person, they're getting agitated and they say, shit. Kind of settle down. If something is working for somebody, I don't intend to disturb it. If shit is working for them, what's my problem? There's an entire science as to the structure, the geometrical structure of the sound Shiva. When I say geometrical structure, when I came and sat down on this chair, I said, this is made for cripples. Because this is for people who can't fold their legs, who can't sit down properly. You know, it's made for crippled people. Why I'm saying this is, in many ways you're crippled, your perception and your faculties simply because of the way you sit. The way you sit, the way you breathe, because physical existence, how efficiently it functions, is just a question of perfection of geometry. Geometrically how perfect something is, that is how efficiently it will work. If you take a machine, let's say you take the engine of your car, how geometrically well aligned it is, that is how smooth and friction-free it functions. Little disalignment in its geometry, lot of friction. Lot of friction means inefficient function, lifespan is less, above all, it will not live to its optimal capability. So to be able to sit properly is important, that you have the right kind of geometry so that perception happens unhindered. In a way, whether you say yoga or tantra, it's all about geometry. You have seen people are drawing on the, geometric patterns on the floor and everywhere, geometry, because existence is geometry. Physical existence is entirely geometric. Only what is geometrically perfect sustains itself. What is not geometrically perfect will fall apart. The very solar system that we are living in right now. The planet Earth is going around the sun not because there is a cable attached and it's swinging, just geometrical perfection. If it loses its pathway even a little bit, that's the end of it. It will go away. I want you to understand what I'm saying. It's spinning and rotating with some geometrical perfection. Even a mild deflection from its path, it's finished. So if you want to function at your best, you need to be in a sustainable geometry. Only then, all your faculties will function at its best. If you sit like this, the only thing that will function is your thought and emotion. Nothing else will function. The different dimensions, the immensity of being human will not function. This is why how to sit. We spend years to teach people how to sit, just sitting, just how to sit. So when you utter the word Shiva, the geometric patterns that come out of that sound are such, it represents the emptiness, it represents the nothingness, which if you develop a mathematic for it, it would represent the empty space. That is what the sound is. So we arrived at with enormous perception, with profound perception and a very deep understanding of the science. Somehow these people in the West accidentally stumbled on this shit business. Sitting, standing there, shit. I see it's working, at least half the science they got somehow. I say Shiva, they say shit, it's working. So I said, okay, let them say it. At least halfway they're coming. Only, we have to add some time later, we'll do that. Now the devotees will get very angry. Are you trying to say shit and Shiva are same? No, they cannot be same. But in your mind, if Shiva is only… you react in such ways because it is just something that you believe. If it was reality for you, what I'm speaking of as a limitless emptiness, which is what the sound Shiva represents, if that was an experiential reality, you don't care if somebody said shit and Shiva together, but you just believe Shiva is my God, now you feel insulted. Because you feel insulted, you react. But let me ask you a simple question. In your mind, I don't know how you store the different words, but in case you're storing it alphabetically, Shiva and shit are definitely next to each other, isn't it? Are you capable of storing Shiva on top of your mind and shit at the bottom? Hello? I'm asking you. So this is why when we look at the yogi or the man Shiva, we make him so complex, everything. He is the filthiest man that you can think of. He is the most beautiful man that you can think of. He is a profound yogi, absolutely still. At the same time, he is a violent dancer. Like this, every contradiction, because to give you an impression, nothing is excluded, everything is a part of him. Everything is a part of him, and if you accept this one man, you will not have any trouble with anybody who is sitting next to you right now, including yourself.
I think this is the point at which we'd like to pause and invite some of you to join this discussion. If there are questions, we have about 10 minutes for them, 10 to 15 minutes for them. Yes.
Can you give a microphone to him, please?
Hello.
Questions. But now if Adiyogi will arrive here and give you a chance to ask him a question, what question you are going to ask him?
What makes you think he's not arrived? Yes, please. Yeah, please.
Yes.
Transfer the microphone quickly, yeah.
Sadhguru, I would like to ask something. Shiva is very limited and confined word. If you will use being, the evolving being is more applicable for the entire system, the human species as a whole, I believe. Can you just explain, elaborate about my perception?
I didn't get that question.
Being, the being should be, instead of using Shiva, being should be more apt and elaborate for the human species as a whole, I believe. Are you agree with the word? Being, evolving being, B-I-N-G, capital letter. I should use, being should be used
you're-
capital letter, being.
You're
Parinam
essentially…
Parinam Satta, evolving being. Instead of Shiva is confined to be a regional aspiration or something like that. If you put applicable, the being is for the wider application for the human species as a whole, I believe. Can you just give some insights on this?
So you're essentially saying we should stick to English language, which we are doing right now. When we say Shiva, we are not talking about some fanciful man floating somewhere. We're talking about a limitless dimension. We are not just talking about the meaning of the word has no meaning. We are talking about the structure and the geometry of the sound. You must understand this. Meaning exists only in human mind. Nowhere else there is any meaning in this existence. Is there? Hello? What is the meaning of the sunrise? What is the meaning of the sunset? What is the meaning of the flowers blossoming? What is the meaning of the sky? What is the meaning of the earth? There is no meaning to anything. Meaning exists only in human mind. So in yoga, we don't give any importance to whatever nonsensical meanings you have arrived at because it has no existential significance. It has only psychological significance. But sound is of existential significance. So we are looking at the sound Shiva as a sound, not for the meaning. You can make up any meaning. Somebody thinks Shiva is a yogi, somebody thinks he is a Bole Baba, somebody thinks he is something else, they can think whatever they want, that is the meanings that they attach. But the sound Shiva geometrically signifies… Sound has geometry. Geometrically signifies a limitless space. That is what we are looking at, because it is intrinsic for a human being to seek freedom. Doesn't matter where you are, you want to be something more. Why? If that something more happens, you want to be something more. Essentially, you're trying to expand your horizons, or if you look at this carefully, you will see there is something within you which does not like boundaries. You want to be boundless. So Shiva represents that boundlessness.
Pranam Sadhguruji. I want to ask you one question only, how to find my spiritual guru?
Why should I tell you?
You are the only person can answer this.
Then I think you answered your question. If you can wait for the microphone, please take the microphone.
Good evening, Sadhguruji.
Where are you? Okay.
What according to you is the greatest lesson that you have learned till today from your life?
I don't learn anything, huh? Really. I'm quite incorrigible. I don't learn anything. I see everything just the way it is. I don't learn anything. Because learning means making some conclusions and keeping it in your goodie bag to use it somewhere else. No, I don't want to use anything because I have my faculties on. If tomorrow's situation or the next moment's situation is different from everything that's ever happened, I will still be at home with it because I don't go with my learnings. I have not learned anything from this life. I'm just living this life absolutely fully, knowing fully well, next moment can be entirely different from anything that's happened till now. If you have goodie bag full of learnings, suppose tomorrow's situation is very different from yesterday, what are you going to do with this stupid goodie bag? So don't carry the past with you. I know everybody is telling you, you must learn all the time, learn all the time. Well, if you are learning engineering or mathematics or science, please learn. But life, you just have to live, you don't have to learn. And anyway, let me tell you this, whether you learned or you did not learn, anyway in the end you shall pass. Please take the microphone, whoever.
Namaskar, Sadhguru. My question is that if
If you can.
knowing the ultimate is our the topmost thing which we can do, okay, and for that if yoga is the only way, okay, and for yoga if my clarity of mind or my longing to that is the thing which can makes the thing works. And for me, everything is going like in a circle. Means I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have to worry, even the planet is doing the same thing.
Means where to start and how to start, and means if there is no longing, then there is no yoga. If there is no clarity, there is no longing. Means
What is this?
means everything is in a confusion.
No, you're just making equations which cannot be equated.
Yes. Then means how to solve that equation?
If I hang you upside down from the ceiling, would you want to come out of it after some time?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, isn't it? Just today, switch off your phone next 24 hours, okay? Don't talk to anybody, just go sit on the beach. Don't look here and there, don't look at the local girls who may be on the beach. Just simply sit there. And after some time, initially you will enjoy the scenery, after some time, life will bother you, simply. Nothing need to happen, simply it'll bother you. Allow it to bother you sufficiently, it'll bother you and freak you to such a place. Most people are busy texting not because they have something to say, just to dodge the bothering. They're bothering somebody else. If you simply sit there, you will see you're actually hanging upside down in this universe without knowing a damn thing. When it bothers you enough, you naturally become a seeker. You want to know. When you want to know, please come, I'm there. Please, you must take the microphone, whoever.
Good evening, Sadhguruji. Here.
No, microphone.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, Sadhguruji. I have a question. A person has manifold interests in his life. Now, if one person tries to pursue one interest and the other interest deviates that person from pursuing that interest, so how to do a balance or strike a balance between pursuing manifold interests?
you sit in one place and don't do the both, then you will be in balance. What is this? Is it true that right now that you're sitting here, for whatever reason, you can't be in a cinema theater right now? Or can you be? You've been watching something on the phone? No. So you're listening to me, so you can't be in the cinema theater. If you're in the cinema theater, you can't be on the beach. If you're on the beach, you can't be somewhere else. This is not just for you, this is for everybody, isn't it? Hello? But if you pursue any one thing with absoluteness, everything else is included in that one thing. You don't have to do many things. If you do one thing absolutely, you will see it contains the whole life in it. Tell me one thing which is exclusive of the other. If you become absolutely involved with something, you will see it includes everything in it, just about anything. This is what mysticism means. Kabir is a weaver, just weaving cloth, he realizes things. Somebody just sweeping the floor realizes things. Because absolute involvement is what is missing right now. Now you're already thinking, if I do this, if I go west, I can't go east, if I go east, I can't go west. So what will you do? You will not go anywhere, sit here and think about this and that endlessly. That is just psychological drama, nothing happens. So whatever, it's not about what you do. Whatever nonsense you do, if you do it with absolute involvement, that becomes an all-inclusive, tremendous divine possibility.
Namaskar, Sadhguru.
Where are you, sir? Okay. Yes, you can speak, please.
Can meditation and yogis and evolved people like you help mentally challenged people? I mean, people who have certain mental illnesses. You having known yoga and meditation, can't, apart from the medical science that the
No, please,
psychiatric…
if you just stick to the question.
Yeah. Apart from the medical science, can meditation and yoga be an alternative or an additive,
Okay, fine.
complementary form
Got
of help for such people?
Yes. When we talk about somebody being mentally challenged, on a lighter vein, everybody is mentally challenged in some way. No, please. But when somebody has a situation which has gone beyond a certain point, where it's become painful both for them and everybody around them, that is when we label it as mentally challenged. You're mentally challenged, but you're okay, you're managing yourself, then we say you're normal. But you're challenged to such a place where it's become painful both for you and for people around you. Now, this is not something that we can do on standard prescription right here, because as every human being who is here, nobody is mentally same or physically same. It's a unique body and a unique mind. So there is no one common prescription for all these problems that human beings may face. Somebody may be so by birth, somebody may be so because of genetic reasons, somebody may be so because of situational pressures. We don't know how they've gotten into that place. So saying something general and saying, okay, this is the solution, is going to be irresponsible. But if it is because of situations that people have become mentally disturbed or broken, definitely with yoga and meditation we can fix it. But if it is because of pathological reasons, then medication may be must. Because Your chemistry may be so volatile that it can't be just fixed like that. But once people go on the required medicine, then working with them, if they are willing. We have helped thousands of people like this. Some have completely come off medication and become normal. Some are moved from severe medication to more milder doses of medication and managing themselves. There is no one magic wand for this. It all depends on variety of factors. I don't think anybody has figured all the factors. Many times we hit that lucky spot when for somebody miraculously it works, but another person just doesn't respond. This is my experience. I have seen hundreds of people coming out of such situations miraculously by doing simple processes. At the same time, some simple problem somebody has, do what you want, they will not come out of it. There are various factors involved in this. But if somebody is already on medication, it is good to try to balance the system with the right kind of practices. It will definitely assist. One thing I can tell you, definitely, very easily, with little bit of work, 25 to 50% of the medication can be brought down, which itself is a great help for that person. That much can be done, but we need special circumstances to handle such people. We can't handle them among common people, it may be too much pressure for the ordinary people and for them to be in those situations. That is the challenge, can we create that ideal situation needed for that particular person? That itself is a very big challenge which most of the time we are not able to create. So, if there is such a situation, it's best that complete detail of what is the situation is written down, accordingly we can take a judgment whether it is possible to help them or not.
Sadhguru, I'm going to ask Disha to come on stage because there may be one or two questions from the media that she'll facilitate, not more than 10 minutes.
All right, well, we'll quickly just take a couple of questions from the media if there's any. From the media, if there are any questions, because we have a time constraint here. Yes, sir?
We have 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, please speak, it's all right.
Hello. Hello.
Your Honor, what is the difference between Brahman and Atma? Forget this Param Brahma and Paramatma, but what is the difference between Brahman and Atma? Number one question. And number two question is…
One question. So there are so many waiting, we'll have to take one question from you.
About
Thank
Satya
you.
Sai Baba.
Okay. I am not given to comment on any individual, so let's leave the second question. And Atma is A of life, Brahman is the B of life. I'm not trying to belittle the question, I want you to understand. In the name of spirituality, what has happened to most people is, they have just enhanced their vocabulary. This is a consequence of living in a culture where there used to be thousands of enlightened beings in every generation at one time. Because of that, all these words became common conversation in the society. But since then, that has receded. The significance of those words are gone, but the words are still floating around in the society and in the languages that we use. Let us go with this. You exist, You exist, that's a reality. You don't know whether Atman exists or not. You as a person exist, you as a life exists. You don't know whether Brahman exists or not, but you know there is a larger creation. You're just a small happening in this creation. Now, The longing of the human being is because our intelligence has come to a certain place. If we were like any other creature, stomach full, we would be settled. Now that we've become human, stomach empty, only one problem, stomach full, 100 problems. Not only of life here, we even want to know Brahman. But do not enhance your vocabulary, because enhancement of vocabulary will keep you in deception for a lifetime. Don't use those big words. You are there, so much is there. You don't know the nature of this, so there is no way to know the nature of that. And the reality is this right now. You don't even know if there is a world there. You don't even know if there is a universe. You only know it the way it happens within you, isn't it? Right now you think you're seeing me, but the fact of the matter is, this light is falling upon me, reflecting, going through your lenses, inverted image in the retina, everything is happening within you. That's how you know. So you only know what's happening within you. Today technologies have come where instead of projecting something on the screen like this, they can project it into your retina, okay? Multiple projectors which will project it into your retina, and it's real. If you know, kids are wearing glasses and going through the Samsung phone, if you put it on, it's a full 3D experience. It's more real than the real. So, what you know as reality is just the way it's projected in your mental scape. So let us just focus on this one thing that we know, because we can only work with what is on our hands. We cannot work with what's on our minds. We can only work with what's on our hands. What's on our hands is a life. There is a life here. To know the nature of this life, because it is the way this life is experiencing, we are knowing everything. So what is the nature of this life if you know, you actually know the entire universe by inference, because you know the way this experience is being created. So just you is enough. Don't create another guy called Atman, because once you create Atman, then you will create ego, then you will create another thing, another thing. If there is more than one person in your body right now, this means you're either schizophrenic or possessed. But I am not a psychiatrist, nor am an exorcist, so I already said.
Sorry, we'll just have to… you'll just have to be satisfied with that one answer. Thank you so much.
No, I answered the question. I don't wish to comment about somebody else.
Yes, sir. All right, do we take one last question from the media, if there's a question from the media? One last question, yes.
Only if you're media, you raise your hand.
Yes, if you're from the media, raise your hands and we can take one last question.
No, the media is silent. That's good.
All right, none from the media. Are you from the media, sir? From which organization are you from? Kanak News? All right, we'll just take one question. Sir, you can have the mic, sir. Yes.
Sir, do you have any plan to spread your these religious things or your foundation works in Odisha?
That's typically a journalist question, sir.
Anyway, I don't have any intention of spreading my own religion to anybody because I don't have one. I think I am in Odisha right now. You are the media. If you think it's valuable, you must spread it.